Hello and welcome to the show. Thank you for tuning in to Hope Channel Kenya. You're watching The Identity. I'm your host, Samuel Mangi. We are embarking to Season 2. If you missed last week's episode, you can get it on our YouTube page. That is Hope Channel Kenya. You can also interact with us in this session through our social media pages. That is Hope Channel Kenya on Facebook and on Twitter at Hope_Kenya. You can also find me on Facebook and Twitter. That is Samuel Mangi on Twitter and on Facebook. On Facebook is Samuel Mangi and on Twitter is at Sammy Mangi. Now today we are blessed to have amazing people on set. I'll just call you amazing people. And my close left, if that is English, you have Edith. Karibu.
Thank you.
How are you?
Fine, fine.
Kwa salama.
Kabisa.
Kabisa. Hey, sawa. Next to her we have you smile kidogo bana. Smile. Mambo. Introduce yourself. Let me do it. Introduce yourself.
I am Debbie Ononga.
Debbie Ononga. I'm ready to Debbie Ononga. Karibu sana. Kopoa?
Thank you. I'm very good.
You're very good?
Yeah.
Karibu sana. Next to her is Herman Tambo. Vipi?
Fiti.
Kaza?
Niko sawa.
Sawa. Karibu sana. Today we'll be talking about teenage life or life as a teenager, and we encourage you that you get in touch with us on our social media handles again. And if you have a question or you can also write to us to the number that is on your screen and also on our social media pages. Now, karibuni sana. So, have you guys been teenagers?
Yep. Yeah, sure.
Are you 60 or something? Hey, ni sawa. So, if you have been teenagers, who is a teenager? Edith, who's a teenager?
Let me put it this way. A teenager, basically a teenager is one who is between maybe 13 to 19 or somewhere there.
I thought teenager begins 9 or 8 to 22.
From a layman's definition.
Oh, layman's definition.
Yep.
That is 13 to 19.
19. But teenagehood. I think teenagehood is a link between childhood and adulthood. That age between there. Yeah, that stage between being a child and being an adult.
HT, nikwambie kitu about teenagehood ulikuwa unaanza kukataa.
Anawashwa sasa hivi.
Unawashwa na nini?
Technically, there's no word like teenagehood.
That's our Oxford dictionary.
No. and by that, I just wanted to say what she said. That's not just a layman's definition. That's actually the dictionary definition of a teenager. Because 13, 19. That's where it comes from literally. So she's actually on point. Yeah.
So we can confidently say, David, that I'm wrong. It's from 9 to 22.
That is something else.
That is something else.
Which I will cover in another show.
Okay, sawa, haina shida. So, teenage is between 13 and 19.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's class 6 or 7. There's a topic in nafunzango about changes yenye watu wanakuwa nayo during that stage. Personally, I have been waiting for some of these changes in my life, like having a deep voice. Some of those things are some of the things that people wait, or having pimples all over your face. It's too limited. Did you have actually, did you have to hold a beard?
I'm thinking about it. Yes, I did. And I didn't like it initially. But yes, I did. It's evident.
Okay, but what are some of these changes that people in the teenage would go through before we start talking more in depth about? And are they factual about they're just stories?
It depends what kinds of changes you're asking. So maybe focus your question more on what type of changes.
Both physically and emotionally. Debbie?
The rest of the changes that happen come along, they're influenced by the main changes, which are the physical changes. First, what happened, there was a child We were joking the other day, okay, just yesterday, it was the birthday of a friend of mine called Clinton Nyamongo. And he
Happy
had
birthday, Clinton. Keki copy.
he had posted a photo of him at 8, and one of our friends, our mutual friends, commented that boss hata sura iko imetokea kama ni boy ama ni FM or something on the side. And
But alikuwa unisex akiwa
yeah, something on the side. So exactly that's what happens when somebody becomes a teenager. Those changes start becoming more evident. Somebody, if you're a guy, you'll have start having a beard. Somebody will, okay, some people it comes out too early and they start asking themselves if they're too old or something of the sort. With the ladies, there's some parts like, okay, fine, which will start growing, and somehow you start noticing that now your blouse is not fitting and all that. Maybe start growing big, and then you have a problem because before you were light enough to run around with the rest. And then I think now the conflict with all those changes, because what happens is with the present world, nobody ever leads you through that stage that this is what is coming about and it's fine.
Question. Sasa kwa mtu kama mwenye bado nangojea deep voice. Am I still asijapitia kula sensitive?
You want to say your voice is not deep?
Ideally, as I thought. Can I say that nilimis your stage juu kuna kitu nilimis?
No, you have a goatee. Basically, you pass through it.
It is a beard, but it's out.
Whatever. So the conflict when you have all those physical changes coming about, and then there's nobody exactly guiding you through them and telling that this is okay, or maybe just wait because there's some who the changes come out late, some too early. There's that, the whole conflict around those things is what now pushes somebody to start finding belonging. Who am I? Am I a child anymore? Why am I not like this? How do I exactly cope around all these changes? So the rest of the emotional changes and now wanting to look for a sense of belonging, trying to look for a friend or somebody to belong to, trying to find a voice because now seem different or something of the sort as a result of the first changes, those are the physical changes.
Yeah.
These changes, both physical and emotional, is making mtu anza to gravitate towards either being good or bad, having some character it's more of character formation. But then most of them go on to be sasa niko na voice kama Zai, lete ile maji awe Mzai. I like saying that, as in it's more of a rebellion. Is it something normal? As in what is it between the changes and the character formation? What actually happens?
Well, it's normal. It's normal because, like I said in the definition, you're trying to shift from being a child to being an adult. In terms of the behavior, one thing you've been brought up being a kid, now you're trying to unajaribu kuingia into being an adult, unataka kujulikana, you see,
kujidentify.
When you talk of behavior is what is influenced more. You see,
that's what people see.
Yes,
very quickly.
With teenagers, behavior is more visible. You see, when I was a teenager, I'll talk from my experience. When I was a teenager, I knew everything I say is correct.
Hey.
Yes. I don't wait for anyone else to tell me.
I hope that has changed.
Yeah. It had to change at some point. It had to change. So when you talk of behavior, when you talk of character, when you talk of attitudes, they all change. And it's so normal. Yes.
So, HT, you having a younger brother, ukiona ameanza kuwa rude, si you follow that fist and uzibe ufa kabla hujajenga ukuta. You straighten that path of rebellion.
Well, I don't know whether I personally do that, but I know parents and older siblings do that. There is an idea that once you get into this age, unaanza kumea kichwa. I don't know whether I've said that.
Kumea kichwa. No, it's okay. Kumea kichwa. I've had that one more than once.
Kumea pembe.
Kumea pembe.
Yeah.
That's So sometimes it's more of a perception than reality. And I personally, I don't think, I actually have a younger brother, but I don't think I'm hard on him. Unless he thinks so, we can have that discussion later.
You can you holler to your story, yeah?
Yeah, but he's in school right now. So,
by the time, anyway, it's out.
so it's possible. It's true what you're saying. Sometimes when you get into the age, there's just an immediate perception that you're going to be rebellious. I remember in my high school, you're not even allowed to keep a beard because it was perceived that if you had a beard, you are now thinking you're a man and you can do things your own way when you're just keeping a beard.
Oh, na compete na mwalimu.
Yeah, as in you don't have any of those motives, but just because you have one, it is now believed that, hey, now you think you can keep a beard. Who is a man in this, that kind of thinking. It's backward thinking, but yeah, so you're right. There is a tendency to become hard on teenagers because even without them actually doing it, there's a perception that once they get to this age, they're going to become problematic.
So that's where parents prepare themselves psychologically.
Wanakaza,
Sure.
it's like they're even doing presents. in
Kama ulikuwa unatumia
preparation.
slipper sasa ina.
A whip.
Yeah,
But
when
hey, Debbie.
Though before you move on, I will personally talk from my personal experience. I'm a firstborn, and my brother, who is the thirdborn and is actually the only son, has been going through much of that, and it seems to him it has taken him to an extreme. So the other thing, as much as it's a perception, sometimes we need to also look into what is the behavior that's forming. Because with my brother, I'll have to admit sadly that what he has been exhibiting is much of what I'm afraid will take him on the wrong way. So we have to exactly try to put our feet down and all that. So the whole point is taking a balance. This is the perception, but at the same time, I have to be keen enough to check out what's going on.
Debbie, that brings me to a question. Probably it has been neglected. As in, una grow, we have noticed. Tunaona mea ndevu sawa. But then, why should we talk about it? As in, see, you're not the first, hey. Kila mtu amepitia hiyo, that's why my father, that's why my elder brother. You're not new to this. So why should we talk about this?
I think
Go for it. Oh, ladies first.
all right. Thank you. Well, I think talking about it is important because there's someone out there who needs that word. Someone out there who is going into that phase or is already in that phase and is wondering, am I really normal? Whatever I'm going through right now, is it really normal? Being this rebellious, because most of the time we associate teenagehood and being rebellious, you see. So it's very important because even whatever is happening around us right now, most of the things happening around, they are being caused by teenagers. So I feel they've been neglected in a way, and unless we talk about it, unless someone stands out and decides to talk about it, then we are not really helping them out there.
Why is it so important?
Why is it important? This is a critical period of a person, an individual's life. A lot can go wrong at this stage. A lot can go right at this stage. And the decisions that you make, within these 6-7 years are going to influence you for a very long time, for the rest of your life. So it is important for us to have this discussion because change it's not natural to us. We do not like change. We like remaining, with what is familiar, what we're used to. So when this change has to happen, and this is something you cannot help, it is biological, it is hormonal, you cannot help this change.
And hawezi toroka.
Hawezi toroka.
You
It's not
have
like,
to go through
it's
it.
not like I say I'm going to sleep, then when I wake up I'll be an adult. You have to go through that age. I think it's important to have this discussion so that people can know how to navigate through this age. Yes, there are a lot of physical changes, but just like Edith has alluded to, a lot of the change that happens is actually in the mind. Because now the issue said you're no longer a child. You now have to start thinking for yourself. You now have to start making your own decisions. You have to make you have to know what you stand for. You have to there are a lot of things that change in your thinking during this age period, And sadly, you've said a lot of people make some mistakes. They make bad decisions. Some people even go as far as killing themselves because there is just so much that's happening, and you do not know how to handle it. And everyone else thinks that you're doing that because you're hard-headed and because you're stubborn, you don't want to listen. So you take the easy way out and you kill yourself.
It is perceived that kifikanga to your time, this rather it's public knowledge, ati mtu akifika to your period, unaona mtu ameanza kukosa, like she will even coming to church anakuja late, as in mwemea pembe. Basically you're exhibiting more rebelliousness. And it is, and some of the psychologists say, in the rebellion, people isolate themselves to rediscover and form an identity of themselves. I always say this every time on the show. Let us all seek to identify with Christ. But as we start seeking to identify with Christ, we need to know who we are. But then how do we go about this? Juu kuna ule mzazi wanasema, boss, kijana, mamaka yako wapi? Deal na yeye. How do we address this?
I wouldn't call it rebellion. It's more of the way you said, discovery. You know,
seeking identity.
Seeking an identity. You know, you want now to be your own man. You know, when you're a child, let's say when you go to church, you have to sit with your parents and things like that. Now you want to sit by yourself.
Yeah, you want to sit
at the balcony. You want to sit in the balcony with your peers. So it's important to also sometimes not be quick to term something as rebellion, because it's just a journey of identity. I think there are certain elements of African parenting which do not allow you to think for yourself. You know, they want you to be, what we say in this house is law. And if you try and question me, you are rebellious.
Find yourself out.
You're a bad boy. Yeah, go and live in your own house. I think that's a bit also overreacting a bit.
Okay, now in that case, there's a parent who watching us and anasema, now if what he's saying is true, because we have all gone through it, and thank Lord that we are all youths. How do we address this? There's a father saying, I don't know how to get to my son, Debbie. How do we address this teenagehood stage in a family?
I think the first thing is to exactly identify yourself with them. Like, tell them I have stepped in, I've been here, and this is like, okay, there's this statement that's always told that, or if you're old, you're wise, or something of the sort. Most of the time it's used much more out of arrogance. You get that? And once it's used out of arrogance, I am trying to also seek an identity. So what will I do? I will actually like go against it, because, excuse me, I also can be wise. I also can do all that. You get the whole thing. So I will go out of the way. So when I'm stepping into the circle, into your own identity, that means I'm trying to walk you through this whole experience by telling you, okay, fine, you can discover yourself, but just know that somebody was there, and this is how exactly you should walk. Another thing is always trying to, what is it called? I'm trying to get the point. Okay, the first was...
As you get it.
Yeah, maybe I can talk about communication.
Communication.
Exactly.
Communication between peers.
Communication between the teenagers, the parents. Communication between the teenagers, the mentors, the teachers, the role models.
But we both know kila time at a HTL confessing that he hate. Did you hate high school? Did you hate it that much?
What's your high school?
That is high school. And then your time in your teenagehood. So meaning, how best can we involve? I'm glad I've mentioned mentors, but then how do we bring them on board? Because enough people in your I don't need them right now. You know, let me enjoy my zone, my circle. You know, how do you go about that? How do we address this? It's more of hitting the nail on the head.
Well, I'll take it from the older one's perspective, because normally it's difficult for a teenager to approach you. Yeah, they'll tend to be distant. But you on the other side, because you've gone through that phase, you know how it happens. You know how you used to behave, on experience, exactly. So I think we And I'm saying we because we are all past that.
Yes,
that age, yeah.
Hopefully.
So,
Yes, yeah.
let me confirm. Well, we are past that. It's up to us to reach out to them. Befriend them. Befriend them, and once you befriend them, they'll start talking. I have friends who are teenagers. And I have both boys and girls. And when it's holiday time, they always look out for me. And we'll talk. Why? Because I've given them the environment. They can approach me anytime. We can talk anything. You see. So for us who have been through that stage, I think giving them the environment, giving them the space, and giving them our time.
You said creating an environment
Exactly.
to accommodate them, isn't it?
Yeah.
HT. You're trying your best to create an environment that you think is okay with you and is okay for the to the teenager. But in some way, somehow, mtu amemea pembe literally. Akisiti leo unazaona, but you get the point. How? Because I believe if we don't reach out to that person, that individual will be the rotten pineapple in that lot. How do you go about it?
Okay, you make a good point. It's difficult also for parents and older people when they try to reach out to teenagers, because as you rightly pointed out, there are some who close themselves out. Even when you try and approach, even when you try and create the environment, they are not interested. But I believe that tact is important, and a part of tact involves knowing an individual and how they work and how they think. I know parents who, when they know they cannot reach out to you directly, they try and find one of your friends who they know has a lot of influence on you, and they try and approach through that avenue. So personally, I deal with teenagers myself. I have a brother, first of all, and I'm also in church. I'm also involved with teens, and what I've discovered, I can't say I've experienced, because I was also a teenager just the other day. But what I've discovered is every individual is reached with a custom-made approach. You cannot use one size fits all. I know that Debbie is one who, if we sit down and I create an environment, she will talk. But maybe that does not work for Sammy or for Edith. Edith, maybe I go buy her ice cream somewhere, and that is when she will talk.
Sure.
She has agreed very
Let's not get ahead. So it's a question of approach. So once you know a particular individual who you want to reach out to, find out how they think, find out what works for them, and then try and exploit that avenue.
So basically, to put in a nutshell, we should be tactful on how we approach the situation.
Yes.
Of which we need to create an environment that is all inclusive, and because personally, I know people in that age do not want to feel like they're left out.
Yeah.
Like, isn't it? At a nikienda place me feel like, ay, kwani, So we should be tactful. My dad is telling us to go on a short break, but we are not done. We are here talking about how to approach this. But are there benefits of being a teenager?
Yeah.
Kibao,
So
hold it there.
many,
Hold it there, guys. We're going for a short break, and in this short break, we're going to have a talent segment. Please join us in the next part where we're talking about the cool stuff about being a teenager. Be blessed.
My name is Kazmo. I like to call myself Kazini. And this is the identity, the talent section. Welcome.
Karibu sana to the show. If you're just tuning in, this is The Identity. We are broadcasting from Hope Channel Kenya, Light in the Family. If you missed the first part, Usijali, we are still going to give a recap, but we also hope that you've been blessed by our talent segment. Now we are going for our trivia. Mko sawa? So it's not a hard one. Today's not a hard one, but I also want to encourage you watching us from home that you can interact with us on the social media platforms. On Facebook is Hope Channel Kenya, and on Twitter is @Hope_Kenyan. Or you can also find me on Facebook, that is Samuel Mangi, and on Twitter @SammyMangi. Also on Instagram, that is Hope Channel Kenya. Our trivia for today is, in our growth, there are some vices that we all agree with of. And you know, there are just some vices that people agree with, and they mistake. You know, me one of the things that I reckon very fast. Me when when I was growing up, I'm not fully grown, but when I was growing up, kuna hii statement, it was an all-time statement. I'm not giving you like just what to say. HT will start with you, but in my time, you're gonna be that in my time. That is the first cue line of a whole 3-page story of how you are, and that is an issue and an address. That is for me. HT, just 3.
Of bad things that teenagers do.
Either.
Well, off the top of my head, I can think of drinking.
It's considered it's cool to be drinking.
Yeah. Drinking, dressing funny.
Define funny. Funny is relative, by the way.
You know
I can say I'm just funny. Oh, you're just funny.
You know who walks around Nakumat lifestyle or this place, what is it called? The Aga Khan walk on Sunday when there's a jam session and you see someone dressed and you're like,
Ulitoka je kwa nyumba.
Is this person from Mars?
So dress code.
yeah, okay. There is fashion, then there is now just foolishness. I'm sorry for pardon, excuse my French.
Now I'll sideline you with the French, Debbie.
Can I say one more? You asked me for 3.
Now I will come to you, Debbie.
I think one, which, okay, for me, strong-headedness. You really don't want to get the reasoning of other people. Then the next other thing is having the wrong focus, uplifting the voice of what is not exactly so important and all else. Yeah.
Edith.
Yes. One.
Ngoja sema nauliza swali.
Okay. Before nisahau. One is constant need to look good.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say.
Lakini sasa yako ni ile extreme good, but it's still the same point.
Yes, I want to look good. I want to go out there and everyone is,
Basically to stand out.
Yes, to stand out, exactly. The other one is, eating disorders.
Hapo kwa disorder. Kama ni disorder actually.
It is. The problem is it's not so much on the African continent because I mean we ate, but with the rest, it's
in this way.
You know, HTH. Unasema?
You need to talk to someone specialist.
I let that slide, but you can share with us what are some of these devices that you grew up with.
I was to say one more.
Oh yeah, please do.
Sneaking out of school.
Sneaking out of school.
And I will add one more.
Okay.
Having this need that to take in everything just because everybody else is taking in. That's why we have the ill trend of dressing, ill trend of music, because if Octopizzo's dress this way, I mean it's nice.
Yeah, it's fashion.
I don't know Octopizzo.
Okay, so Octopizzo is just something. Do you have a last one? Because I have one more. You have one more.
Kuna venye umeshtua. Plus one inamaanishanga kitu kingine.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Anyway, it's alright. Anyway, share with us what you think of what are some of these devices that we grew up knowing that. Personally, I know there's one thing that teenagers, as a teenager, I grew up knowing that there's what we call group mentality. It never gets anyone anywhere. At a group mentality. So do end, which is highly seen in strikes. Yay. Anyway, that is our trivia for today. Share with us what you think about it. Now, back to the discussion. We were nilikuwa nimekatisha.
Ulikuwa maliza.
Nilikuwa namaliza. But what we are here saying that kuna hizi challenges physical, but as in nini poa inakuanga na teenager? What are the cool stuff of being a teenager?
One thing. Yes. One thing about being a teenager, you have a lot of energy.
A lot of
energy. Yes, I'm gonna say. Yeah, you have a lot of energy, and if used wisely, you have a bright future.
Amen.
But if used wrongly, my brother,
My sister. Hi.
Yeah, you're going somewhere else.
Veer off the right way of
Yeah.
Energy. You're very energetic.
You're very energetic, and with that energy, you can either use it to serve God. To serve God. You can use it to serve mankind, or you can even use it to serve yourself.
Mankind and ourselves zote zinaendanga hivi. Baby.
I think the other thing is we are very much creative. like if you look at I'm an IT person, okay, my course, that's where it aligns. What you see mostly, like if you see these IT bosses and all that, like let's say the common guy Bill Gates, right now he sits and earns because past at his age right now, he's not having all the ideas, but he employs the younger people because I'll be quick to think about everything around me. So that's usually the big thing about us. That's why when we are together, if now the energy is spent unwisely, we'll be thinking on the wrong side, and the creative ideas, trust me, will carry them to the wrongest end. But if we decide to like think also positively, trust me, there's a lot of change we can make. That's why, like, if you look at it, the way everything has always moved, it has always been the young people. It was the young people who started the Advent movement, the young people who turned the world upside down during Jesus' time. It's just around them because they have all the ways and the creativity and all.
So if they've already said those 2 points, as in I feel like I have nothing. No, I have for me, what I enjoyed most about being a teenager was friendship. Now, yes, on one hand, friendship, peer pressure, it can be made to look like a bad thing, but I think the friends I made during that time are friends that I'd keep for a very long time. And you know, it's interesting because you see, as a child, you're restricted. You see friends, maybe cousins once in a while if you go to visit, but now you're in high school, you're interacting with new people, and it was so much fun, it was so interesting. And the way she said, those friendships can be productive because you know, when you bring in high energy creative people, they're going to come up with some nice things. And if you look at, you know, even this country, some of the best sportsmen, even in our national teams and everything, they're
young people.
They're friends, they're young people, but they also have friends, and they have very good relationships. So I enjoyed the social aspect of being a teenager. It was a journey of discovery, and I think that's when I discovered that I can have more fun with my friends and even with my cousins, and you know.
One thing that I can also add to being a teenager, or rather being a youth, that you have a pool of opportunities.
That's right.
Like, I don't know of anybody who's going to sign up for a job at 50. Like, retirement in retirement for 15 years. But then if you're a teenager, you have, I love, one thing I can also add is that once you have that pool of opportunity, and then you have a window, or rather a spectrum to choose. Particularly, I want to be an engineer. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a cab guy. But study.
Now that you mentioned it, I've also remembered something. Another good thing about being a teenager is that so many people want to help you. There are so many people who've gone past teenagehood. Some of them have done it wrong,
That's
some of them have done it right. So in as much as, yes, you have a pool of a pool to choose from of so many paths that you want to take with your life, there are also so many people who are willing to help. And maybe I'm preempting something we're going to discuss later, but maybe this can also be helpful for people who are going through something.
Exactly.
Yeah, there are so many people who want to help.
With that said, there comes an introduction of how do I choose, you know? There's kuna hizi plus mob za kuwa teenager, unajua, as in I have a variety of everything. Alafu, I can do anything and everything. That's the coolest thing about being a teenager. You're not limited to anything. As long as you put your mind to it, you can pursue it and you can be successful in it. But then, this comes about mimi kukua confused. You know, unajua, I have very many things. Like, I remember in high school, in class 8, the simplest question you're always asked, class 8, unataka kwenda high school gani? Nataka kwenda A, B, C, D, E. And you have very many, but then you are not, you're not in line to make a solid, straight, conk decision. Now that brings us to the issue of decision making. How best can a teenager be able to exercise this power, which is God-given, of making decisions? And how correct, or rather, which are some of the things to keep eye on? Edith.
Well, one thing I always tell teenagers, my friends, I always tell them, one thing, look at role models from the Bible.
Starting from the Bible first.
Starting from the Bible. Because, like me, I always used to talk about Daniel talk about Shadrach, talk about Abednego and Meshach. I always look at them. And most of the things I'm supposed to make decision on, I base according to how they used to behave. These young Hebrew boys, yeah, I mean, every teenager would love them to be their role model.
True.
Look at someone like Joseph. He was also a young man. How did he make his decisions? So when I'm making those decisions, I'll look at role models from the Bible, then look at role models from church, from from church.
That reminds me of a verse that I was reading sometime back. There is Psalms chapter 119 verse 9. How can a young man keep his ways pure? By
taking heed.
now. Thank you for bringing in an adjective of having mentors. You know, people to help you in that direction. What other way can we look at this situation of how to make proper decisions, Debbie?
I think it's to understand the balance of what is important and real and everything, because
Important and real.
yeah. So because in this stage you try, okay, as much as it looks like you don't have much on your hands, we're actually faced with a lot of things at that time, because you have education on one hand, you have family, you have your relationships, you have the friends, you have the careers, you have now you're almost turning to an adult, so there are those, okay, the decisions on what you want to be and which path do you want to follow, or which path is the best to walk in, or how do you even get there, and then above all there is God. So the exact thing is to step back a bit from that moment, because what most people do is they take this phrase, I will use it as much as it's not exactly the best. You only live once. So they live in that moment, not knowing that the moment's decisions are going to exactly impact on everything that's going to come afterwards.
Future.
Yeah. So when you take that step backward, and then there's also this one more thing that I read about yesterday, but it's actually one of the most powerful philosophies to live on. It's called memento mori, remember death. In this way, no. Yeah, that's what I am still this.
Kisi.
It's not Kikisi, boss.
Española.
Okay, fine. When you have the what is it called? The end of everything at first, then you'll be able to exactly know what is real and what is important, and then step into what is supposed to be taken as the right path.
Ukisema what is real and what is important, are you saying that kuna vitu yenye si upasive itakuja kwa more of living in a fantasy world?
Yeah, let's say for this, I talked earlier about the tendency for us to like, okay, I'm saying for us, I'm so sorry, I just turned 20 in September.
Let's talk about the youth.
So
you turned?
I turned 20 in September. So like I get the whole point, because you can say I've not really moved that from that stage. You still, yeah. So
no teeny.
So like at that time, okay, the tendency to like kuiga kila mtu and everything that goes by, because everyone else is doing it, just following the crowd, and then at that time it seems like standing alone is something that is so, okay, it's standing alone when you're teenager, sometimes it feels like the most awkward thing, because everybody is following fashion.
You want to fit in.
You want to fit in. So but when I step back and exactly put the end of life and the whole thing into the picture, then I will exactly know that what is real and important is that I don't just follow the trend if it's not something that will exactly build me or uplift me in one way or
towards
another.
The end.
Yeah, towards a good end, because if I'm talking this assuming that every sensible human being or every human being actually it's not every it's every human being always desires a good end. So when you have that in mind, then you will exactly not just follow everything that comes along your way, because you want your end to be good, so that time you make a real decision.
I think I can add something on that. It's also important to think of how you want your life to be, maybe in the next 5 years. You know, being a teenager is a phase. Yeah, and we said
Unapitia tu.
unapitia tu ni njia, and this is where you build it. You build that life you want to have, maybe in 10 years time.
That reminds me of an advert that was, as I bring in, that reminds me of an advert that was on national televisions of a guy who called the mom and this, I want to be a lapa. I don't know if you guys are watching. You can see how big the family pursued the child, alafu na call it to be a rapper.
Yeah, I also saw that ad. Well, about this decision making, I believe the skill first comes from the parents. I think it's important for parents to also, these are some of the virtues that you need to impart beyond just providing school fees and everything. It's also important for parents to be deliberate enough to teach their children how to make decisions, because you say the confusion will come, and it will surely come. But as for a teenager himself, first of all, I like what Edith has said. Youth is a stage, it will pass, and it's important the way Debbie said, to put into perspective that you're not going to be 13, 14 forever. One day you're going to be 40, God willing you're going to be 70.
It is scary to think that you're going to be 70.
There's a story in the Bible of Elisha and these young boys who are making fun of him because he was bald. No, I was just thinking, these guys, they these young boys who are laughing at him, it's like they're thinking them, they're going to have long, nice hair for the rest of the time. They did not sit back and think that, one day you're also going to be that bald man and someone is going to laugh at you. So it's important to put into perspective what your life is going to be, so that you don't make foolish decisions. And there's a friend of mine who likes saying, please just allow me to finish this point.
Please do.
That wise people learn from other people's mistakes. Foolish people learn from their own mistakes.
Quick question.
Yes.
There has been a scenario of having people who are 28, 30, but in lack of a better
Still
word,
boys.
overgrown boys.
Yeah.
Is there something like that?
Yeah.
Yes. In fact, when you look at our society today, like sometimes you can only tell someone's age by what you see on the ID. Like it's difficult to tell someone's age by behavior. It's become,
So it is real.
It's
It is
very
there.
real.
How
It's
okay,
real.
ni teenagehood aliruka ama nini aliruka?
Well, I think one thing iko influenced na the decisions we decide to take. Yeah,
Ama ni
and na ziko
postpone.
influenced. I feel ziko influenced na wazazi sometimes. Kwa sababu if I look from that perspective ya wazazi, yeah, most of the time our parents want us to live the dreams they never achieved. Yeah. My mom wanted to be a doctor. I have to be a doctor. You see, so and from me, according to me, whatever I wanted to be is very different. Maybe I wanted to be a tailor, but she wants me to be a doctor. Yeah, so I'll reach a point, and since I'm so confused, do I take medicine or do I go to arts? Yeah.
That reminds me of hizi story that me was told that kuna mwanafunzi alisoma vile mzazi wake alikuwa anataka, kapasomba ka degree, akarudi home akamwambia mom,
This is your degree.
ndio hii degree yako.
I have a
I'm going back to
friend.
school.
I have a friend who has gone through that. The dad wants her to be a lawyer, but she wants to be a teacher. So she went through law school. After she was done with law school, akamletea, here it
Ndio
is.
hiyo.
And
Ndio
that
hiyo
is where
piga
our
picha.
parents go wrong. Kwa sababu we also need to make decisions on our own.
But equally we should not also deprive, because my tech is telling me that we're running out of time. Sijui mbona time inaenda haraka hivyo. But we should also not forget that parents are right. They're right.
I beg to differ.
But
Me too.
I differ.
but wazee mko home, naweza msaidia hapa. There are people who need caning. But they're right. In this sense, they always want good things for you. You know, it's good that you want to be a tailor. Cindy, it is good. We're not dismissing that fact. We can't dismiss your feelings. But then, let us not look at the other end. Huyu mzazi anataka the best for you. Akiona how passionate and devoted you are, and how, because I don't believe kuna parent mataona niko passionate about acting, alafu nime draw out a plan and I'm actually pursuing.
Trust me, a lot do that. They overlook that, so you can't exactly go beyond that.
That's true. It's true and it's real.
It is real. We're not talking about something.
So are we all saying that parents are wrong?
Listen.
No, we are not saying wrong. But sometimes they overlook something.
So if you think about this, the SMS is wrong.
They should
The
do.
SMS is on the screen and on Facebook and Twitter. HT.
I'm carrying my hand.
Don't
And then
carry it.
second, please.
Yes, I'm carrying. I'm lifting. We are not saying that, it's not a competition of who is right and who is wrong.
No, it's not.
It's not a question of it's either or. It's either the parent is right or the teenager is right. It's a question of dialogue, discussion.
Sure.
The parent gives his points, the teenager gives his points. There's something in law, in Latin, that's called meeting of the minds ad idem. So when there's that meeting of the minds and there's an agreement, then we move forward from there. What we are questioning here is the parent has his ideas, the teenager has his ideas. The parent listens to the teenager's ideas as a matter of formality.
Anafanya
Anasema,
alafu
okay,
anaanza kuimpose.
what do you want?
And remember,
Okay,
the
I'll
world
add
is
you.
changing.
But you're still going to do what I want.
So the problem is the imposing.
Yes.
So it's not that the parents are wrong.
Yeah, it's not that they're wrong.
They're
but
wrong, they're right.
It's no.
It's-
They're wrong in that way.
They're wrong to see that they're
trying to
right.
twist you into doing what they want. The way she said, living their dreams through you. That is very, very
Exactly.
wrong.
Yeah.
Please, make a director ameanza kunikimbisha.
One thing. One thing. You want me to conclude?
Yes, please, go ahead.
All right. One thing, teenage life is a wonderful experience. It's a wonderful experience, and if only we can have communication between us and our parents, between us and the people who are older than us, then it would be more exciting to be a teenager. Another thing, teenagers are not rebellious as we perceive them to be. They are not rebellious. It's only that they look for someone who can understand them. If you don't understand them, that's when they become rebellious, because they want you to listen to them. At school, no one listens to them.
It's fanya hivi ama
Fanya hivi, yeah. When they come home, the parents want to
the same
dictate.
cycle.
You see, so it's not like they're rebellious. It's just that they lack what? They lack the environment. They lack the support.
Debbie.
Okay, me, I will first say that the issue of overgrown teenagers and overgrown whatever boys and girls, it's first because the parents have not exactly shown either not taken the attention to show, or they have not exactly lived the example they're trying to exactly say in words to these people they're bringing up, that this is the right way or this is why we should take these decisions. Because if I get a lady outside there who all her thinking is, I only my pretty face can get me the cash, or this is the way, the easiest way out, that they can get to the extent of going to some very things which are like debasing, if I would say so. They bring the dignity down and all that because they think that's the easiest way. It's because sometimes if you look at what they had experienced before, or the way the society behaved around them, exactly molded their thinking towards that. So we have to be careful. The parents, the older generation, has to be careful on how they're molding the younger generation if they want mature people by the time we're getting out of this phase. And also be real when you're addressing the teenagers. Don't give them a list of do's and don'ts. The reason why most of them turn out to exactly test their curiosity on everything you tell them not to do is because we just give them a list.
Don't
but
do this.
you never give them the reasons why this and this is wrong. Go do it God's way.
They're not given options.
Not even the options. When I'm telling you something is wrong, it's wrong, but tell me the reason, okay, the consequences and all that. Just don't tell me, don't do this.
So you wind up.
And the last thing I will say this, the society might have failed, our parents might have failed, I have to say, because this generation is a bit mixed up. God tells us in his word that the conclusion of the matter is everything goes back to God. So in case everybody else fails around you, then turn your eyes to God. In him you'll find a perfect example of how to grow up and be a man.
HT, in less than a minute. Tafadhali.
I'll try. Start. And if you try and interrupt me for a minute, a discussion about teenagehood can take several episodes. I was doing a bit of Googling, and I was surprised to even find a book titled The Teenage Brain, a neuroscientist survival guide to raising adolescents and young adults. As in, the word survival caught my eye, but that's besides the point. I think I'm with Debbie. We can talk about so many things, but it boils down to one basic thing: accountability to God. And allow me to say on this set that and this is just to back up what Edith said, that when you're a bad person, you're a bad person. Being a teenager or being a 75-year-old or being a 3-year-old does not change the fact. At the end of the day, we are still sinners. So in dealing with, first of all, ourselves, we should be gentle with ourselves first. And secondly, we should also be careful the way we relate with people of different age groups. It's not even just adults and parents. Even the way we relate with children, let's say if you have siblings who are younger than you, there's usually a lot of friction at around this time. So those are things that we need to look into. And my final thing that I would say is it's not that serious. It's not that serious. Let's not make it such a big deal. Ooh, you're a teenager now. Now we need to. Ooh, I'm so.
Get into ICU or something.
It's not that serious. It's just a phase.
Itapita too.
Your body changes a bit. You start thinking differently, but that's all it is. It's not much of a big deal. In as much as we need to have the discussion, but sometimes I believe when we magnify the difficulty of dealing with teens, we overcompensate for problems which do not even exist. And I'm not talking too much, so just shut up.
Thank you very much. Well, then one thing that I just want to rate is ujana ni moshi.
Yeah,
That's true.
In fact,
So don't think you're not already in the minute.
there's a verse.
Quickly, mention it as we go for
Ujana
inspiration
ni
segment.
moshi. Ecclesiastes 11:9 and 10.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us through the show. Thank you guys for coming through. God bless you.
Amen.
I understand
God
that.
bless you too.
Huh?
God bless you too.
Thank
love
you.
the exchange.
But one thing that is more profound that we cannot fully talk about teenagehood. But then we can do this. You can share with us on the social media platforms. So that is on Facebook, that is Hope Channel Kenya, and on Twitter at Hope_Kenya. On Instagram, that is Hope Channel Kenya. You can also find me on Facebook, Samuel Mangi, on Twitter at Sammy Mangi. Share with us on what we, if you feel that there's something that we could have brought it more clearer, share with us. We'll address it in the next episode. Until next time, I've been your Samuel Mangi. Just to leave with 3 verses. That is 1 Timothy chapter 4 verse 2. All it's public knowledge. Enjoy your youth. Secondly, 1 Corinthians chapter 10 verse 13. And lastly, Ephesians 4 chapter 29. Be blessed. Till next time, be blessed.